A deal on Dickens, who could resist? A stack of Austen, warmly kissed. Golden Age crime tales twist and turn, every page a treasure to learn. Books keep coming home with me, piles so tall they're all I see. Turn a page and sail the sea, reading always feels so free.
Hi, my name is Talia. Welcome to Talia Nerds Out. Let's see if I have a chance to get this review in before I have to run, but I wanted to make sure that I would remember to review a couple of books that I had either listened to as an audiobook or read digitally, because I usually keep a box of the books that I finished so I remember to review them later. But with the digital books, of course, they're not going to make it to that box, or the audiobooks, you're not going to make it to that box. So I do need to try to review them close to when I finish them, because otherwise I risk forgetting to review them. And I think this particular book might be the last one thus far that I have read digitally that I have not yet reviewed. So that book would be, I'm just flipping through my pages to make sure. I'm looking at my journal entries in the future that I'm still working on to see if there's any digital books there, and there's not. So the book I'm speaking of is Tom Holland's Persian Fire. I happen to have it both as an audiobook and as a Kindle book. I was able to do that thing where first of all, they give you a break price-wise because you're doing both. And then also, I did that thing where you could flip back and forth and it would keep your place. So if I felt like reading from the Kindle, I could read from the Kindle. If I felt like listening, I could listen. So that, for me, that worked very well, especially since there's a lot going on in this particular book. The reader is still good, just like the reader for Hannibal was. But there was more that I felt like I wanted to look over physically. I mean, I had that happen for Hannibal as well, but I didn't have the choice of an ebook to look back on. This time I did have the choice, and I took advantage of it. So I have previously read Tom Holland's books. I actually read one of his books. I think I read Rubicon. And I read it either last year or the year before. I'd have to check I think it would have been the year before, because I'm pretty sure I've already made a journal entry for it. I haven't done any of my journal entries for 2025 yet. So yes, that would have been from 2024, most likely. I need to jump on those. Anyway, I had remembered enjoying Rubicon, so I fully anticipated enjoying Persian Fire, and I did. And what's nice about Persian Fire is that it is covering a war that I am really not as familiar with, also an area of the world that I'm less familiar with. I have some familiarity with ancient Greece, but not a ton. Most of my familiarity with Persia is, other than, what might come up in the Bible, is when Alexander the Great went and conquered there. From when I was reading the book on Alexander the Great and his father that was written by Adrian Goldsworthy. And I think that one I might have read, I can't remember if I read that in 2024 or 2025. It might have been 2025. But anyway, so that's my knowledge of Persia is a lot more limited. I remember certain aspects, like I said, that came up in the Alexander book, but really didn't know hardly anything about the war between Greece and Persia. And these are, different covers or parts of different covers, or I have some stamps here. But like I said, I enjoyed this book. I particularly enjoyed the fact that, so it doesn't just focus even on Persia. Actually, a good chunk of it is focusing on Greek. I was actually surprised how much of it focused on Greece. To the point that after, and I don't know if you would argue that this is a flaw of the book or a bonus to the book. There's a good chunk of time, like I can't remember if it was a halfway point or a little bit before that, where it's like you are full on focusing on Athens and Sparta, everything about them, and a little bit more, of course, about the other Greek city-states around them. But to the point where I almost forgot that we were talking, that there was a book on Persia. But I did enjoy that foray into Greece, and I do understand why Tom Holland felt like it was necessary. Because I think that if you don't understand the inner workings of how Athens and Sparta in particular work, and also the relationship between all the various Greek nations, it would be a lot harder to understand how Persia was able to play people off against each other, play these nations off against each other, and then how amazing it was when they actually did come together against Persia to win in a kind of like David and Goliath type situation. Now, before we even get to Greece, I enjoyed aspects where I started recognizing certain things from the Bible, particularly when Cyrus, I think it's pronounced Cyrus, not Cyrus. I kept wanting to say Cyrus, but Cyrus, when he defeated Babylon and released the Jews back home. Well, I remember reading that in the Bible. Actually, I had read Isaiah over the Christmas time, like around Advent. So it was fairly fresh in my memory that Cyrus had come up. So it was kind of cool to see that come into this particular book, because for whatever reason, I wasn't expecting to see it, or I wasn't thinking about it coming up, although I should have expected because I know that happened. But it was kind of cool to see that there. It was cool seeing how Persia built up, how it became the preeminent, huge empire that it was, this huge behemoth, really Rome before Rome. And it was interesting to see how it grew, but honestly, my favorite part of the book had to be once we really dove into Greece and the relationships and the fight between Persia and Greece. There was a point where I actually stopped listening to it. I was solely focused on the Kindle, and I couldn't stop reading because I had to see what happens next. And also I was looking forward to things like Sparta's stand in the name is escaping me now because it's silly that it is, but in that very thin pass where all the Spartans there were killed. I was looking for that, and then I was looking for different aspects that I vaguely remembered once I got to that point. But it was so cool to then reach that after Tom Holland did such a great job of setting up and letting you know why Athens behaved the way it was by really diving into Athenian culture, and why Spartan behaved the way it was by really diving into Spartan culture before we even got to the point where they really came at loggerheads with Persia to become Persia's, the focus of Persia's wrath in the area among the Greek city-states. I know that, of course, that later this alliance isn't going to hold, but it was really cool and really awesome to see the way Tom Holland wrote it. It was really, I thought he did a good job of drawing you drawing you in and making you really invested in what was going on without feeling like he was making it too much of like a, like you know, if you watch my channel, you know I can't stand it when a historical book strays into the area of behaving like it is historical fiction. It drives me nuts. I hate it. Tom Holland doesn't slip into that while still managing to be to make you really want to know more, because first of all, the information he's sharing is just a very cool story, and he writes it in such a way that it's not overly dry while still not being, you know, essentially historical fiction. Because a lot of what we would know would be from Greek writings of the era, or them writing back, you know, writing about it after the fact, you know, much later. So there are sources for this war and for knowing what we do about both Spartan and Greek and Athenian culture, as well as, you know, the really contentious relationship that all of the Greek nations had among each other, which made them so easy to kind of use against each other, which is what Persia was doing until Athens and Sparta decided that they didn't want to be taken over and become, you know, underneath Persian rule. And yeah, it was just, I really enjoyed this book. I wouldn't mind reading more about either Persian history, or I think I might dive more into Greek history in the future. Actually, I know I will. I pre-ordered Adrian Goldsworthy book. Adrian Goldsworthy I'm having trouble speaking. Adrian Goldsworthy's new book, and I think it's coming out in May or June, and it's about Athens and Sparta. So it'll cover this era. It'll cover the Peloponnesian War. Wars, plural. I believe it's several. I can't remember. But it will cover, because Athens and Sparta, they're such different cultures, like diametrically opposed. Like I can't think of two other nations that could have been really more different from each other. So I'm looking forward to reading Adrian Goldsworthy's, I don't know why I'm having trouble doing a possessive, Goldsworthy's, blah. I'm looking forward to reading Adrian Goldsworthy's book when it comes out. It's supposed to be a big, thick thing. So I'd like to maybe read that next year for Historathon Q1, because it's not going to arrive in time for this year. So I am looking forward to that. I really enjoyed this book. I ended up giving it a 4-star review. I think I actually, did I end up picking up this one physically? I think I picked up this one physically because I enjoyed it so much that I wanted to own it and be able to, because I absorb things better in physical form for a book. Now, like, I didn't pick up the Hannibal book because even though I enjoyed it, I was perfectly fine just listening to it. Persian Fire, I could see myself rereading and also wanting to engage with it a little bit more deeply. And so I wanted the physical form of the book. So I believe I did find a used version of that, a used copy of that. And I'll probably end up showing it in a future book haul. So yeah, that is it for Persian Fire. I wasn't anticipating reading this book this year. This was an unplanned read. I was just looking for an audiobook, preferably an audiobook where I also had the Kindle book as well. So that way I could switch back and forth. And yeah, I picked this book solely on the merits of that and the fact that I knew I liked Tom Holland's work and had enjoyed Rubicon previously. But I didn't really feel like reading the book that came after Rubicon. I think it's Dynasty, because I felt like I felt like I've kind of read a lot about that portion of Roman history, and I really didn't feel like beating a dead horse. I kind of wanted something different, which is why I went with Persian Fire, and I'm really glad that I did. Because for me, this felt like a very different read from what I have previously engaged with. And it does make me want to dive more into Greek history and even a bit more into Persian history. But yeah, so if you've enjoyed Tom Holland's books in the past, I don't know why S is apparently our problem today. If you've enjoyed Tom Holland's books in the past, I would recommend this one. I would also recommend this one as a good way to really get an introduction to Greece in that era, and also to Persia in that era, because he does a very good job of laying the groundwork of this is what this nation was at the start, and this is how they got to the point that they are now at loggerheads. So we got to see all these nations grow to the point that they were during that war. It was really a nice way to build it up. I'm not sure how many pages long the physical book is. I'm guessing it must be a fairly thick book, because I'm just trying to see how thick the ebook was. The ebook was 466 pages. I anticipated that it had to be pretty thick because he went into a lot of depth in who these nations were and what gave them their national identity and flavor, like what made them behave the way they did in comparison to each other, and why that influenced how they did battle and how they approached each other. So yes, I would recommend this book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Not much more to say, I guess. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will see you the next time. God bless. Bye-bye.
Books keep coming home with me, piles so tall they're all I see. Turn a page and sail the sea. Reading always feels so free.